Hi, thanks, Jared. Thanks for coming, everyone. It's good to see such interest from the community. Yeah, as Jared said, we're recording it, so you can share it with your colleagues afterwards if they're not able to attend, and the slides should also be shared. Yeah, so we're here to talk about the DDI Lifecycle 4.0 Beta 1. And I'm talking on behalf of the technical committee. So I'm just the person who's saying the words. There's a lot of work's gone into getting to where we've got to by many members of the technical committee over many years. So yeah, I'm just a spokesperson here. So for those people who aren't familiar with Lifecycle, DDI Lifecycle, just a quick sort of overview of what it is. So it's a mature standard that supports a wide range of use cases, describe the data lifecycle for data, which allows the management of metadata to support provenance of questions and management, the use in surveys and structured protocols, the management of classifications, a description of data arising from these activities. It also supports the dissemination of data through catalogues and archiving, and it is widely used in national statistical agencies, social science archives, health and longitudinal research, and in many other places as well. It's although the standard's only really been matured really since version 3.2 in 2000 or 10 years ago now, it has had a wide uptake in lots of different places, some of which we didn't expect. So it's time for a push forwards. Like many of the DDI standards, interoperable with other standards, particularly GSIM, which is the overarching model used in statistical agencies, STMX, which is used for reporting primarily around national, international statistical agencies and other bodies. It's compliant with ISO 11179, which is the metadata registry, ISO 19115, which is geography, Dublin Core and MARC for things like compatibility with journals and libraries and so on, and Premise and MET, which are around archiving, and it natively supports controlled vocabularies and other materials. So it's able to support a rich range of information and link out to established things and standards. So the previous model versions of DDI Lifecycle were in XML. We wrote it in XML. It was really only used in XML. And obviously, those of us who've been around for a while love XML, but not everyone loves XML, and there are plenty of other things that are used in the world that XML is not so relevant for. So this version is built on a model which we hold in a simple CSV format called the convention-based ontology generation system, which we'll talk about a bit later, we'll show you a bit later, which gives you powerful patterns-based ways to build ontologies. COGS includes many features that enable fast, test-driven development for publishing sophisticated models in a variety of format, and I think we'll show you this sort of the development process in a second as well. The good thing about having this simple backend model available on GitHub is that contributions can be made directly to the model. So no more writing emails trying to explain what you want to do to the technical committee, pinging back and forward. You can just do your own contribution directly into the model, and then you can generate the model in the different formats that you are interested in, and it will test some basic validation stuff to make sure it does what it wants to do. So the model, as I said, was previously only available in XML. This has allowed us now to straightforwardly generate the model into different serializations. So we've still got XML, but that's a slightly different flavor from the one we used previously. It's now available for JSON for those who use JSON. It's also available in OMG's UML XMI format, which is a portable UML standard, so it allows you to import it into different UML modeling packages for those people who are modelers. There are 2 flavors of RDF OWL for that. We put out in 2 versions. So one is a closed one with restrictions, which reflects the restrictions that we have in sort of DDI with the sort of recommended relationships, if you like, and an open version which has none of those restrictions. So one of the things we want is comment on from the community, RDF community, our community particularly, on which ones they would want, or whether they have both. It's also available in ShEx and SHACL, which are restriction languages for RDF OWL as well, and it generates Sphinx HTML documentation and visualizations, which you may have seen into previous versions as well. So the model is held in GitHub. So if you want to play around with it yourself, you just fork it into your local GitHub repository, set up some settings in actions, make your changes, commit something, and then see what's happened. So just on the right here is the settings for the GitHub actions, which are about the only fiddly part of setting it all up. So I will now attempt just to do a live demo, but also just quickly show you around the GitHub. Now, hopefully this should follow me. Can you see the GitHub page?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. Okay. So good. So so what I've done here is I've taken a fork from the DDI Alliance model at the moment to my local GitHub repository. And that's just click on DDI Alliance DDI model. I've then set up some actions, which allows us to run the continuous integration. So I think if I look in, sorry, settings, actions, general, there's some permissions. You have to set the right permissions, and you have to set them as they are here. Otherwise, the continuous integration pipeline won't work, so you won't generate the outputs for you. But that's on the slide, and we'll add that to the documentation on the main GitHub in the near future. So yeah, so let's go back to the code. So the model is basically a series of CSV files that are arranged by different item types and also things that are more complex types. So item types are things like agent, archive, categories, so on, so on, so on. A lot of those. And then composite types are obviously more complex things, so which include things like access type. Yeah, there's a whole load of those you can look at your leisure when you want to. I'm just going to show what the model looks like. This is very, very we'll just actually quickly have a quick look at value type. So that's a very simple type, which has one thing, which is a string. So if you've got a code list, it's what holds the value of the code list. So in a code list. So this is actually hasn't got any documentation, which is very rare. Almost every single other type of item has got a name, a type, cardinality, a description, and there's room for other things about inclusiveness and deprecated names and things. So essentially, this is, if you look at this at the back end, it's just a CSV file, which you can edit. I'm not going to edit this one. I'm going to go back to the value type. and add a new thing. So I had a brilliant idea that actually what I'd like to do is to put an attribute on the value to say, is it an emoji? It's probably a very, very bad thing to do. I can almost hear Wendy screaming as I say this, but here you go. And then put a description in there, such as flag for emojis. Flag for emojis. Okay. Preview that. Preview that. Oops, let's commit that. We're going to commit that. And then we're going to say add emoji flag. Changes. There we go. All done. Right. So what that should do is if I go to actions, let's do this, and it's now queued my my change, and in a minute or so we will see some output. I'm just going to go back to the slides. So in terms of feedback, obviously we want to take questions you've got today, but more generally, this is out for sort of beta review. So we'd like to get some comments back on the model in general. So the underlying model hasn't changed very much; it's just been altered slightly to allow us to put it into a consistent model. If there's any guidance on submitting changes you needed, anything on the serializations, the new serializations, particularly the JSON serialization format, the RDF OWL flavors, the closed, the restrictions, the SHEx, the SHACL restrictions, whether they work for what you want to do, and comments on documentation. So one of the slightly more complicated things about having a model-based approach is that we can document the model, but actually when you put a serialization out, some serializations have some content, some serializations may not have that same content because that's not supported in that particular language. So the things in RDF OWL that don't exist but do exist in XML, the things in JSON that exist but don't exist in OWL, and so on. So navigating between those two things, any sort of feedback you've got or any requests would be useful, and that really relates to sort of high-level guidance about how you navigate between the model serialization, the model and the serializations, whether there's a need for serialization-specific guidance, and what sort of examples you think would be useful as well would be, I think, helpful for the technical committee in terms of shaping a new sort of suite of documentation. I've shown you the GitHub repository. There is a place to submit issues, which is on the GitHub, and we've also got a review page as well. So I'll just take you to the review page. Right, so this is the review page. So here's some background, some more information about our approach, and then there's some information about the differences between 3.3 and 4.0, which is in our spreadsheet, and it's broken down to tell you the various things that have been removed, added, or updated, or changed in that spreadsheet. I'm going to go back to see if we've got. Oh, it's still running. That's not good. So filming takes about 4 minutes. I will go back to my slides. Yeah, so issues, if you want to submit an issue, there is, sorry. on the DDI Alliance GitHub page, there's a DDI model repository, and there's this. So if you just want to, if you've got an issue you want to raise, put it in there, and we can pick that up as part of our standard processes. Hopefully now it doesn't want to finish yet. That's a bit annoying. Okay. Oh yeah. So we'll look at the content in a second, but once it's completed and you're happy with it, you can just send a pull request to the branch, and that will come through to us, and we can take a look at that. I'm hoping these actions would happen quicker. Oh, it's finished. Good. So it generates two sets of outputs. One is the published outputs. So that's the JSON, XML, SHACL, and so on. And then there's a file here which puts out everything that we've generated. So download that. Go and have a look at it. So yeah, so all the outputs you've got: C#, GraphQL, JSON, OWL, Sphinx, UML, and the XML schema. If I have a look at the XML schema, so the UML, for instance, right, have a look at that. Okay. Can you see the code?
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, you can. Brilliant. So if I just look for is emoji. Oops. There we go. So it's popped it up into the UML here. And it's as easy as that. Yeah, I'm finished.